Okay, welcome everybody to the March Tech Talk with Jess from Futrli.
Hey everybody.
Futrli is, well, you've been around a few years now, haven't you?
Have indeed.
Quite a bit.
Have indeed.
And,
nearly 10.
Nearly 10, there you go. So well established in the cash flow forecasting world. So I look forward to getting an overview of one of your products. So what we're looking at today is Futrli Predict, which is not the whole suite of what Futrli offers, but that's what we'll be checking out today. Over to you, Jess.
Cool. So thanks, Joe, for the introduction, and hi everybody. Thanks for joining, and lovely to have you on this Thursday afternoon month end. So just to recap on what Joe did say is that Futrli as a company has been around for I think it's 10 years now. We've changed names, we've rebranded, we were Crunchboard for those of you who remember the old days, and basically, if you have never heard of us, we are forecasting and reporting specialists. We have two software solutions that are available in the market today. One is called Advisor and the other is called Predict. The newer tech piece, Predict, is what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to bring up a slideshow little presentation in a minute and take you through the product as well, and also kind of tee up a bit about why we're going through this product, why it's sort of highlighted for the accounting technicians for the month, sort of like mainly why it's applicable to you guys as opposed to the other products. So
I just want to interrupt there.
Yeah, no, go for it.
For those who are new to the Tech Talks, if you do have questions throughout, feel free to throw them in the chat box. We will get to them throughout if we can. I will freely interrupt Jess, and whatever we don't get to, we will have time for questions at the end. So, okay, carry on, Jess.
Amazing. Joe, you actually beat me to it, because my next sentence was going to be, before I jump in and show you the presentation, everyone please interrupt, make use of the chat, hand raise, Q&A, whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
I think it's a much more beneficial use of everyone's time if we have more of a discussion-based session than me just showing you where you click and how you navigate a product. I think that's not the most valuable. Having said that, let me jump in and show you my presentation, and we will kick off. So let me just move our heads and get going. So we know that we're talking about our product called Predict, and the sort of headline of this is to change the way you forecast and advise forever. Now let's go to my next slide. Now, I guess I've teed up a little bit about who we are as Futrli, but not necessarily how much in terms of what Predict is and why we've developed it. So I'll assume that everyone here is a little bit au fait with forecasting technology and software and where it fits into your practices and how you can use it to scale your business and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to assume that we're starting on a level of understanding. If anyone's unsure of anything I've just mentioned, please stick any of the questions in the chat, as we said. But just to give you the background of Predict is that being in the market for as long as we've been in the market for, we've realized a couple of things. Is that the typical advisory software is teed up for the big guys. It's teed up for the massive accounting firms. Someone's big assumption, I have no idea. Simone Elbison. Okay, cool. Simone, we hopefully by the end of the session we'll clarify everything in terms of what advisory is and where it fits in. But I will come back to it as we sort of go along our journey. Having said that, forecasting is obviously one huge component of advice and business advice. Being able to show your clients where they are from a cash position, as well as where they're going to be from a forecasting base. So I guess on a practical level, you charge for those advice sessions. It's outside of the general compliance that you guys do. And up until now, the usual way that businesses and advisors and bookkeepers have done advice-based work is on a spreadsheet, and that is very manual, that is painful, that is a headache, that is difficult and riddled with mistakes. We are part of a cohort of software companies that allows you to automate your forecast and pull the data from your cloud accounting pack. And this Predict product is really one of the first to market comprehensive solutions from a forecasting, reporting, and advisory level that is teed up for businesses of your size. And when I mean businesses, I'm talking about your actual business, but also to your clients. So this is a product that's aimed at the SMEs of the world. It's not necessarily set up for big businesses, for multi-tiered entities. These are for this product is super set up for your medium tier clients or your small businesses, and it can be a beautiful add-on to bolster your current offering, or it can be something that you use to give them particular advice. So I'll talk a little bit about these two later on, but I guess I've kind of answered the upskilling and a little bit about what the advisory is, and I'll come back to this advisory opportunity. So we're going to jump into the technicalities of forecasting. Ooh, I've gone way ahead of us, but let's go one up to here. Oh, my bad. There you go. Okay, so I guess just to tee up what prediction technology is and how a forecast works is that generally you're taking data from the past, information you have about a business, and using that information to project forward to be able to give your clients a bit of foresight, a bit of an idea to help them make decisions, whether those decisions are around taking out a loan, managing their cash better, who can get a raise. It really is at the forefront and core of how a business owner needs to manage their business. They need to understand their numbers and also understand where they're going. So that is where the forecast fits in. And I guess the prediction element is all the tech that we've developed to allow this automation to not just pull the data once off, but to continually evolve and automate in the background. So if you think about for those of you who have done forecasts or have either used software, what would have happened in the past is you would have spat out the data from your Xero files or MYOB, either put it onto a spreadsheet and then manually built out your forecast. And obviously updating that is time consuming. Reporting on that is difficult. And, you click one cell wrong and the whole forecast is broken. So too other products in the market that are software based simply automate that process and pull a forecast into a software profile. What we've done with prediction technology is allowed for the continual automation of this information. So what that means is that it's pulling data from your cloud accounting pack, but also using a lot of software technology and algorithms to continually automate and improve. And you get this kind of evolving forecast where a lot of business intelligence and assumptions have gone into reading as much information as we can from the history of the file, so that in effect you're not having to manually build the forecast, but we're doing it for you. So I guess that's kind of the tech piece, and that's the predictive element of it. So we've got this piece of technology that slots into the Xero file or slots into the MYOB or QuickBooks file and starts using this predictive intelligence, this algorithm to keep working on, well, what's the most likely sales target of the business? What's the most likely expenses? What have we learned from history? And builds out these iterations. And it doesn't just happen once off, because it's a live integration with the accounting pack, continually improves and continues to evolve and develop as the business does. So that's in a lot of sentences how our technology kind of looks. I'll show you what it looks like, but that's kind of how it works and where we fit it on the market. Are there any questions at this point? I'll sort of pause every so often for 20 or so seconds to see if anyone has anything in chats, and also welcome to just pop them in. I can also answer as we get along. So I'm assuming nothing at this point. So just to go back to it's Simone's question in terms of advisory work and where it fits into the practice, and you know, this sort of slide title says it all, is to basically you know, how do you slot it in if you know what it is, and if you want to sort of grow your business or offer different services, where does it fit in? I guess the biggest problem that we know you guys have as accountants and advisors is time. So you probably find that every month it's this you know, craziness of getting all the data in, fixing up files, balancing the books, running payroll, and you probably find that there's no more time to offer these additional services, which again is why this automation piece that this technology brings to the table is amazing for, you know, for one-man bands, small teams, because you can just integrate this product into an existing file and offer it to your client either as a markup or as a free service or as just a value add, and they're getting an exceptional piece of information and you know, kind of this live advice piece where you're not taking time out of your day to or your month to try and implement the solution or run forecasts or build scenarios. We're doing it all for you. I kind of think, again, to the point that if you've never done advisory work before, it needn't be a scary field to kind of encroach into. One of the reasons is that in addition to us having predictive technology, we've also made the whole platform very interactive, so that you'll see when I jump into the product that there are a lot of pop-ups, there's a lot of information that's provided that kind of guides you along and helps you along. And I guess just to tee up a little bit more about Futrli as a company is that we're sort of moving a lot away from being just a software provider. Our whole momentum shift with introducing this product to the market has been that we've realized that a lot of accountants and advisors are struggling with the advice piece, don't know how to implement it into their business, don't know what to do with it. And instead of us trying to just push products and licenses into your firm, we've got a whole approach and methodology to introducing the products into your business and introducing those products to your clients. And I guess also the last point, you don't know where to start, is we're kind of taking that out of your hands because the tool is so simple to bolt on, and it's sort of really easy to guide and prompt the business, or if you're doing it on your own on behalf of a client, it's very easy to kind of navigate through the product, giving you really easy ideas where to start and how to do it. Okay, cool. So let's jump into, I guess I'm going to talk, you know, the slide all talks about challenges of scaling. So for those of you who are doing advisory work, who have done forecasts, I guess the slide probably talks to you more. And it goes, well, you know, if you've done advisory work for one or two of your bigger clients, why haven't you done advisory work for the rest of your portfolio? What's the problem? Is it that the tech doesn't fit? Is it that you don't have time? Is it that you can't sell it? Is it that there's ongoing, you know, presumed forecast maintenance takes up too much time, you don't have the time in the month? And sort of all these what ifs, or why I couldn't or why I haven't, are going to get answered in the Predict demonstration that I'm going to show you. And you'll see it keeps sort of coming back to these same main points, that your clients you think are too small, they don't have the money, but they really do have a bit of budget for it if it was easy for you to do, to how do we save you time? Is there a learning curve to the product? All these, you know, I don't want to call them excuses, but all the reasons that you've probably said to yourself or your partners or your investors or mentors on why you haven't grown the service can get answered in this product. And it's a really clever product, and it's really going to be helpful to the business. So having said that, I'm going to jump in and show you a bit about Predict. So again, the slide tells a lot about what the prediction software does. You'll hear me mention the term hybrid forecasting in a couple of minutes. You'll also hear me mention these automatic micro daily adjustments, which I've alluded to. This is this ongoing, continually moving and evolving and learning forecasting platform, which comes from these algorithms that we've slotted into the file. You know, no training is a given. It's a plug and play solution that you can get going and get using, you know, within minutes. and client-friendly interface. It speaks for itself. So let's see it in action. I'm going to bring it up right now. Give me a sec. It is somewhere in my browser, and here it is. Okay, so again, I'm going to pause at this point. Does anyone have a question? Has anything kind of gone over your head, or doesn't make sense, or want to ask something because something I mentioned triggered a reaction or a question?
I think the points you make about the barriers to advisory services was spot on. Yeah, so it'll be good to hear a bit more about how Futrli can help with some of those situations. I mean, for myself, certainly, yeah, I'm in that bucket. I've offered it to bigger clients who've got the budget and who love it. I've tried to sell it to other clients. It's a hard sell. And whether it's their perceptions or the fees or the time or various factors, but I'm always interested in how can I get these services, which are so valuable to the clients to understand, how can I get them interested and valuable? But, anyway, that's me. No one else has got a question at the moment, so carry on.
Okay, and I'll jump into the demo kind of answering some of your questions because I think it's very valid. And I guess the ultimate thing is that, if an average portfolio of clients consists of 50 businesses, you're not going to get everyone interested. If the business that you're trying to sell to doesn't value what you're doing, then you're dealing with the wrong business. However, if you filter out the businesses that are too big and you filter out the businesses that aren't interested, we know statistically that leaves 80% of a portfolio that are interested and would make use of a product like this. And literally, it's as easy as connecting to your Xero file and pulling the data through. So that automatically answers the time question. It will take you no more than 10 minutes to have continually evolving, intelligent forecasts produced for your business. And that already probably knocks out anyone who was doing anything on a spreadsheet or anyone that's worried about time. I'm logging into the forecasting element of Predict, and I'll walk you through very briefly. I don't think it's worth your time for me to go through what buttons do what, but just to tee up kind of what the product looks like and how you would use it is quite a nice insight. So what are you looking at? You're looking at a business. This business is called Josie's Florist. It's a UK business. It's a Xero file in Brighton, where the headquarters of Futrli is. And you're looking at their predicted business. What's the first thing you notice? You probably have noticed that cash position is the top and front and center of the page. And I guess for obvious reasons, cash is the biggest element and driver for a business. Most small businesses or small to medium-sized enterprises want to know, how much cash have I got? How much cash did I have? How much cash do you think I'm going to have? And this is automated with intelligence to give your client the answer. Hovering over the current month, you get a bit of an interactive pop-up that explains what the numbers are, where they come from, when they were updated, what they are. And the interactivity of Predict looks like this, that it's really easy to scroll one way to the left, and this brings up historical figures from Xero, and it's really easy to scroll the other way to bring up the predictions. And as you see, as I'm scrolling across the cash bit, the whole forecast actually moves, and what you're looking at here is a split up profit and loss statement of that business. So really easy to use, really easy to see where you are in any given month. And I guess the most important piece of the puzzle is, well, if these are your predictions, where do they come from? How do you get them? And it comes from a multitude of places. Well, it comes from one place, the cloud accounting source, but the information is all brought together from, number one, financial statements. So we have here a full three-way forecast. So anyone that has experience with forecasts, here is a three-way forecast, otherwise known as an indirect forecast, automatically built out 3 years ahead of time. And obviously, as days and weeks and months roll on, so this forecast will continually update. And I'm not spending time in the financials. I just want you to know that it's there, which is your piece of the pie in terms of how do you dispense and give out long-term advice. You have to look at the financials, you need to deep dive into where the business is heading, look at a snapshot from the balance sheet and understand the cash flow. So you can do that all from understanding the financials. However, we've also incorporated, and this is the hybrid part of the puzzle, this invoices section, which is the cash piece of the business. So we've pulled from Xero all the outstanding due and overdue bills and invoices from this business's Xero file or QuickBooks file. What it's showing us is the amount of invoices that have been left unpaid, the amount of invoices that have been maybe excluded from the cash flow, and maybe the amount of invoices where dates have been changed. And the same play occurs for bills. So this is a real strong cash piece that you can offer all clients. So how this is useful is it's being able being able to tell your clients on a short-term basis what their cash position is. I'm not sure about everyone on this call or on the webinar, but we've been inundated with accountants and advisors coming to us because their clients are asking for cash flow analysis, obviously because of the times, obviously because of the uncertainty of where we are. Businesses are opening and closing, staff are coming and going and working from home and whatever the case is. A lot of businesses right now are needing to understand very clearly, very accurately where do they sit from a cash perspective. And this part of our software gives them the answer. What it allows you to do, go for it, Joe.
Ask people, just throw in the chat, are your clients interested? Are they asking you about cash flow, or has that changed? Just throw in a few comments if you'd like to.
Lucy Lee does the software work with MYOB. There is an MYOB integration imminently launching. Our other product advisor has a live MYOB integration. Anyone that has dealt with MYOB probably knows how absolutely fun and easy they are to deal with. Hence, we went Xero and QBO first. I can see Joe smiling, so I think she knows. and we are software agnostic. We don't have a preference. It's just really difficult to get these integrations going with the different firms. Having said that, to answer your question, yes, there is a MYOB integration happening for Predict, but if you had a need imminently, we have our advisor product that works. Nola, my clients are just not interested in the service. I would like to know how to get them excited about their future cash flow. I have one client interested, but they are MYOB only. So Simone, let's chat offline on our advisor product and how that might work in the short term, and we could potentially bring them over. And Nola, in terms of how to get them interested and excited, I mean, surely they want to understand their business better and have a yardstick to know where they're going. More than just, well, I have money to pay my salaries and wages and move on. Aren't they interested in growing? How do you navigate the uncertain waters going forward without knowing where you are? Not just where you are against a budget or a last year, but where you are in terms of how do you meet your goals. I'll talk a bit more about that a little bit later, but it's just an interesting point that a lot of because advisory is quite abstract, I think a lot of accountants struggle to sell it to clients because there's actually no plan. So, even if you use this technology, if you don't have a plan in place in your business as a springboard to offer the services, no amount of technology is going to work. And what I mean by plan is it could just be as simple as, well, my first introductory call with a client is to establish their goals and their needs. My second call is to implement an invoicing and bills shore ups that their cash is in order. My third meeting is this, and I charge blah, blah, blah for it. Once you have an offering that makes sense, not just necessarily connect your whole book of clients to our license and you're going to make millions. I'd love to say that, but that would be a lie. You do also need to have an idea as to how you offer what you're going to offer. I would probably hazard a guess that 3/4 of you on your website say something about advisory and say something about cash flow, but don't actually do it. So one way of actually covering your bases is actually letting businesses connect to Predict, but to maximize the potential once they are connected to Predict and to get them interested, is a regular catch-up, is a meeting to say, hey, have you looked at this? Does it seem right to you? Predict is saying, and let's look at the sales now, that this is what you do monthly on a sales basis. Does this look right to you? Is your business changing? That new salesperson you're employing, when are they going to start? What do you think they're going to do? And all those types of questions, which you probably have a lot of them anyway with the businesses, are not compliance questions. These are real business questions, but without the structure in place, being the software and the push from your side, you'll never get anywhere from an advisory perspective. But this does allow you to start looking at their sales accounts. What happens on expenses on a monthly basis? Are we anticipating changes? How do we change expenses? Very easy to add information into the forecast. So you could drill down. This is pulled straight from the chart of accounts of the business. You wanted to maybe add in rent. You could see here that our predicted rent says that it's $6,000. They've obviously got a shop. And you can click on, the cool thing with Predict, and this talks to the kind of either passive approach of it, where you can just let your clients use this, or if you are unsure, going back to, I think it was Simone's point, like, I don't really know how to do advisory, this starts to give you a bit of help as to, well, why have we predicted, maybe rent's not the best example, but why has $6,000 been predicted? Maybe in a sales account, the amount fluctuates. So what assumptions have we made? Have we used averages? And we sort of give you all that information as your advisory leg, should you get asked any questions by clients. But also, if you weren't going to dispense the advice and you wanted to give your clients an amazing tool, they could also sort of do the drill down and analysis for themselves. However, you want to go now and add information. It's as easy as hitting this addition button, and you can then build, excuse me, you can build your own manual input into the predict file. So this could be to, sort of smooth out the numbers if you've over predicted, or add your own information if you know something to be true about the business that perhaps there's no ways you could have learned or extrapolated from the history. I've actually pre-built some accounts here, but let's say in the case of rent that they were going to have a second shop, and I've just toggled it on to include it in the forecast. And when it's been included in the forecast, what you'll find is that as soon as the software updates, that the rent figure updates, which means that the overall cash position should decrease, because now you're including what the actual rent figure would be. And you can then, go over our automations and add your own assumptions in. So it gives you a fair level of control as to what you think is going to happen in the forecast, should your opinions or thoughts differ from what we've automated. However, I think the overall point that I'd like to make is that just to get to this point takes 3 clicks and 5 minutes of your time. You can then spend a little bit of time at month end, or even once off if the business is fairly simple, generating a stronger idea of what you think the forecast is going to be. Simon, is there a way to drag a detailed budget to the cash flow prediction? So there is. I'll show you what's about to be launched into Predict, which is a really cool piece of the puzzle, which I actually think helps you guys sell it. So everything you're looking at now is what Predict looks like if you bought it today. However, we've just done a huge development, which is going to get launched next week, which adds reporting and live dashboarding to the Predict element. So not only do you have this live, ever evolving, ever updating, accurate, amazing forecast, we've now taken all that data from the forecast, and it's everything from the zero file, the financials, the invoices, the bills, all our Predict intelligence over the profit and loss, and we've plunked it into done for you, pre-made, live analytics dashboards that you can just share with your client, and it's going to be at no extra cost, and it just allows for the conversation, I think, to flow a bit better. So what do you see in the analytics? You see things like a big overall of the business. What are their predicted sales? What are their predicted expenses? What are their predicted costs? Predicted net profit, predicted gross profit, predicted cash, with changes and variances from the year before. Invoices and bills balances of today. Key information in terms of what their GST liability is. What's their growth? Have they had new customers? All these sorts of done-for-you analytics, I guess, form part of what you would chat to a business on a monthly or quarterly basis for. Simone, to answer your question, what you're going to be able to do in Predict is not necessarily bring in a budget, but you will be able to isolate periods of time from the history of the file. So if you wanted to say use last year as your budget year or base year, you could then pick that 12-month period. Or maybe you wanted to pick a 12-month period from August to August of 2019 to 2020. You could use that as your base year. Then that will be the comparison against what we've predicted. And there's where you'll do your variance analysis. The reason that we've done that, if you're thinking, why can't I just upload a zero, blah, 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 is one, it's again time consuming now to go and pull the zero budget, put it into a file, take it out of that file, stick it into our system. But also the zero budgets are very, very, very basic. We actually have much more detailed, accurate, and useful information just from having the whole chart of accounts pulled through from the zero account into Predict. So you're getting more information to compare against, which probably makes your analysis and advice piece a bit clearer and a bit better. So these sorts of dashboards are going to be launched next week. Everything will be interactive, so you can click on it and get a bit more information. You'll have analysis on cash flow, being able to tell the client exactly where they are on a point of time. A brief overview in terms of what their future predicted cash balances are going to be. Analysis of bills and invoices. So being able to break down things like who are the suppliers that owe you the most amount of money, what percentage of your total money owed comes from each supplier, you vice versa for bills, who has paid the most, who do you owe the most amount of money to? Maybe you want to then go and negotiate better rates with the people who you deal with the most, and on it goes. These are really great pieces of analysis, which again, done for you. All you have to do is log in, get the file downloaded in Predict, and tee up the chat with the client, and you'll be amazed at what kinds of conversations these insights bring. You'll also get a profit and loss breakdown. So here's where the variance comes in against previous budgets or previous periods. You'll get variance analysis in terms of month to date, in terms of the full month, top performers of sales accounts, top performers of expense accounts, current and past performance. So you probably get the idea that these analytics are really detailed and really involved. And I don't know if it's actually worth going through all of them. Just suffice to say that there's a lot of interesting stuff here that you can use to dispense advice. Previously with other products, including our own advisor software, these sorts of boards and reports had to get built in addition to having to build the forecast. So you would log into a system, build a forecast, make assumptions, try to create a dashboard. And you have to think, well, does this client need to see this? Do I need to do variance analysis for this? And what we said is, well, for the bulk of your clients, all this kind of information is probably more than adequate, and you can use it to chat them through the advice piece that you want to work on. In terms of balance sheet, it's a very similar play that you've got the variance analysis. We've obviously also included all the relevant financial ratios. So you've got pre-built in ratios with an explanation to say what they are, what the assumptions are. In terms of current and past performance, we've got a this month versus last year analysis. This is a really interesting piece to look at when you're doing maybe a quarterly or even a health check once a year with the business. And in terms of this financial year versus last financial year, these are obviously year-to-date figures. We've also done a full analysis, and I'm going to skim through it because I'm just conscious of time and I'd rather have questions and an open-ended discussion. Done a whole analysis on growth accounts. Oh, I think I've clicked on the wrong button. Sorry, guys. We've done a whole analysis on growth accounts. So being able to look at the whole chart of accounts in a business and see at a bird's eye view, well, which account, I don't know where it's actually gone. That's very strange. Which accounts have grown, which accounts are dormant, which accounts are stagnant, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last piece of the pie, which I want to talk you through, is a customers and suppliers analysis. So in terms of who owes you money and who do you owe money to, who are they, where do they sit, how much is outstanding, what's due, what's the dependency ratios, and so on and so forth. All of this analysis is kind of how you would use your advice meeting. So you might want to start at a snapshot and move into the financials or move into sales and performance and then look at the customers and suppliers at the end. And it's kind of laid out in the way that you would probably most likely need to show the clients where their business is at. The whole premise behind all of this is that you wouldn't necessarily need to go into the predictions with the client unless there was something that they that they or you wanted to change in the file. On the assumption that they and you are happy with what the predictions have said, it then becomes really easy to run through these automated dashboards to say, right, well, this is where your business sits. Are you happy? What do you want to change? Does it meet your goals? Last time I met you, you said blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of how we would use Predict with these analytics or performance pages, if you like, to actually dispense advice. It's a good segue to stop and ask if there are questions. And if anyone has anything that I've said that kind of is either not making sense or does make sense, let me just open up this presentation again. And I'm happy at any point in time if anyone wants me to jump back into Predict or jump back into these analytics. But I guess just to bring kind of everything together is that what we've got here is a great piece of technology that allows you to plug and play financial advice across your portfolio, or plug and play ever evolving forecasts across the clients in your portfolio that you think will benefit from it. Either way, it's a very affordable, very easy sort of step up or step into the advisory world. We've tried to, at any point in time, make it as easy, as quick, as seamless as possible to get to the point where you're having the relevant conversations with your client. You know, all those little touch points of having the analytics, having the interactiveness of the forecast, having it automated. All you need to do is connect up to your Xero account, making it really easy to add your own assumptions in. All these little touch points make it that it's a great add-on if you wanted to bring it into your business, or a super focused advisory product if you can only think of, say, 5 clients that you think it would work on. So in terms of how the product works, where it looks, where it fits in, I think I've answered that. I guess it's probably worth me mentioning that what you can see is my email address. You're all welcome to get in touch should you be interested. As part of joining this call, you're all going to get one free Predict account to play around with forever. So it will be a free practice account that you have to use just because you've jumped onto the webinar. The way that we'd get it set up is you just need to email me or email Jo, and she'll connect you with me on the other side of it. But it's sort of like our way of saying, look how easy it is to use this. Start with your own business. Start with your favorite client. Start with a client you know is most inclined to look at these products. Connect the file, get forecasting. We're here to help get the numbers flowing, see that you trust the numbers, that they make sense to you, that it's so easy to navigate and flow through the tool. I promise you in 2 hours, you'll be absolute whizzes at Predict and probably more adept at using it than I am. Bear in mind also that for the more complex cases and scenarios, there is the advisor product, which is an interesting solution when it's more detailed work. Sorry, Joe, okay, fine. Yeah, no worries. I haven't actually spoken about price, and that's the other sort of potential pain point for businesses of your size. We've been very conscious as to how we price this product, and we tailor make all different solutions, but the base pack is usually 10 licenses at 250 Aussie dollars a month. So it's not necessarily a very high cost product. So the barrier to entry from a cost point of view is low. And there are a plethora of ways in which you can work this into your fees, to the practice. It kind of is all up to how you guys want to run it and how kind of aggressive or excited you are about providing advisory services or providing a service like this to your clients. So instead of me going through the mechanics of the product, I think it's a good opportunity to leave the floor open for questions, for comments, for discussions, on what you do. I'm happy to answer absolutely anything, to jump back into anything. So I'm going to just leave it open from here on in, and let's rather have an interactive chat than just look at look at screens.
Yeah, great. That's a great overview. What about what sort of advice would you give to the solo practitioners who, either maybe they're just starting out in the accounting profession, or perhaps they've just got a few clients and they're still building up. So they don't need 10 licenses, but they want to get this kind of product on board early so that it then becomes, a regular tool, a regular part of their package, but they simply don't have 10 clients that are ready right now. Is there another option?
So there is, like, contact me with the amount of clients and what you're trying to do, and I'll tailor make a plan for you. Right. I'm not a big fan of selling, 20 pack deals when you only realistically have 7 clients. Yep. Having said that, I'm not from an accounting background. I'm much more commercial in my approach to these tech pieces. So I sort of tell a lot of businesses, well, if you got 50 clients, take a 20 pack license, load up the first 20 businesses that you have. One, if businesses are expressly not interested in it, you can always disconnect them and add someone else. Once you pay for the integration, you can connect whomever you want. But 2, just having the business connected starts letting the predict algorithm learn more about the business and get more information, and it's going to give you guys a greater opportunity to actually have the to have the discussion around their cash, around what to do around advisory services. Because if you're not using a product like this, it's very hard to introduce the service. And I know that it becomes a bit of a chicken and egg or horse and cart scenario, where it goes, well, I want to pay for the licenses because I don't know who's going to be interested. But yet, if you don't have the insights from Predict, you tend to not have the conversation. So the play has to be somewhere in the middle. Angeline, all my clients are MYOB, so hit me up, Angeline. I'll show you Advisor as a short-term solution before there's an answer in Predict. It's also a fantastic product that's been around the market for a while and slightly more complicated to use, and is a fair bit meatier in terms of the forecasting, but it's still a great product with an open MYOB integration. But I guess, Joe, coming back to your question in terms of how do you, if you have a small portfolio of clients, but you still want to offer the services, I think it's very easy to incorporate this in terms of your entire offering. So basically, you could take a very small 10 pack and say, right, 5 clients I know are interested, but I'm probably going to get 5 more clients this year. So when I do my proposal to them, I say that I do payroll and analysis, I do compliance and bookkeeping, and I do cash flow analysis and financial advice. I use Xero, I use this, I use Futrli Predict for my advice part of the business. Yeah. And it's just automatically built into what you what you charge.
Is it the trial period? Is that a month?
Of what?
The trial period of Predict.
So usually the trial period is actually 7 days, 7 days. but I'm giving everyone that attended the webinar live a free account forever. So the trial period is not a worry.
I was just
getting a free account.
In that trial period, you could connect up the clients that you think are, could be really interested. But if it's only a week, you'd have to have yourself very organised and well planned to connect it up, get the data in, make the session with the client to show them what's possible in that free period. And then see, is it going ahead. But I guess you could also show the clients the free demo account that you're talking about.
You could. Again, like, every accountant that I deal with sort of tends to go like, oh, I want to just show my one client. And it's often why you can't scale the service, because you're starting with the one complex problem. My sort of advice piece on this matter is take the free account for yourselves, or take a trial for yourselves and load up how many businesses you want, but rather work out okay, this is a brilliant piece of technology. I can use this in my business. I know what to do with it. Now let me take 10 licenses, then try get one business over the line, then the next business over the line. The businesses will come when you have the plan and you have the offering nailed down.
I think that's
and it's exactly, sorry, sorry to interrupt you, but it's exactly the kind of, what's the word? It's the trend that we saw with all the other products in the market, including our own from years gone by, where it's a product sold per license. It becomes very expensive. Accountants buy it. They connect up one or two entities. They end up having hundreds of dollars of sort of opportunity cost lost in software that they never used because they started with the one client or the two clients. Instead of going, well, how do I want my practice to look in 5 years? Do I want to do this advice piece? And it's also not for everyone. But if you do like the look of these kinds of advice conversations and you can actually use it to grow revenue in your business, get the hang of the software, introduce it as a service. Charge 15 minutes more of your bookkeeping fees in a month, and it pays for the entire pack of software. If you do individual consulting sessions, roll the cost up into your service. Charge $250. It only costs $20 a license. It more than pays for itself, because you'll get rolling commission and rolling meetings and regular callbacks and regular chats. So that's me from a more commercial perspective to say, this is how I would roll it out and this is how I would scale it.
No, I think I think there's a lot in that, and I think you've really picked up on a point in our industry in that that we're still relatively new to thinking this way. We've come from the background of historical bookkeeping, and then we've made this big transition to live, current, daily bank feeds, and then proactive bookkeeping. Well, now we're sort of still making that transition into advisory services, which requires thinking differently, planning your workload differently, and
totally.
discussions with clients. So I think it's great. The way you've sort of positioned that and given us a few things to think about. Okay, any other questions that anyone wants to throw at us about Predict or advisory services in general?
While the questions are coming through, I'll just reiterate that all you have to do to pick up your free account is just send me an email saying, hey, I was on the AAT webinar. I'd like to get this free account set up, and we'll do it automatically for you. And also, I don't need to plug Futrli, but we do quite a lot of webinars. We're pretty active on social scenes. We're always doing live spot chats or discussions with advisors. If anyone here is attending any of the Zero Roadshows, we will be there in full force launching these new analytics that I've shown you. So you guys are actually almost first in the country to see it. But we're very active in the scene. So look out for us and reach out. We sort of, our new motive is not just selling your product, but helping you grow the business. Celia, so I hope everyone doesn't mind if you ask a question. I'm reading it out so that everyone can see what it is and we can chat about it. So can you do your predictions at a particular date, I'm assuming, and create a crystallized report for discussion? Yes, so you can. So the whole point is that the set timestamp will be the budget or the historical figures. So say you take your last year's actuals, and then you'll compare your predictions against it. But yes, you'll be able to say, well, I want to do that comparison from June to June or February to March or whatever the case is, and then do a comparison at a fixed point in time. However, your predictions...
branding on it?
Say that again, Joe?
Can we put our own practice branding on those PDFs or whatever's produced?
Great question. So at the moment, the first launch is actually going to just be this live dashboard, and you won't be able to. Phase 2 of the development, which is going to happen in the next couple of months, is that you will be able to extract PDF reports and you'll be able to brand them. Just on that, I should have mentioned it in my chat. Something that we've noticed works quite well is, what we encourage is you can give access in Predict to different people. So if you have multiple people in your team, you can have workspace owners, admin users, people that have only view access instead of edit access. And I think it's quite nice to be able to give your clients access. So it definitely feels like you're giving them something instead of you just rocking up at the meeting saying, oh, I've got this fancy tech and this is what it says about your business. Because what happens with that is that they take that PDF, they stick it under this mug, and they never look at it again until they throw it in the bin, and all that's happened is a couple more trees in the Amazon have been chopped down. So I'm a very big advocate of give them access, let them see. You want interaction from your clients because interaction leads to questions, questions lead to discussions. Lo and behold, you're providing advice. The old thinking of advice was, let's do it passive. Let's do a quarter review and do a variance analysis and show them what their sales looked like in January versus March versus April. And no one really cares. But if you can show them at at any point in time, what their live forecast looks like, what intelligence tech says their business is going to be in 6 months, it sort of gets the businesses thinking, well, hold on, is this where I want to be? Does this meet my goals? Is this what we said we were going to try and do? And let's reverse engineer to see that we're heading in the right direction. And that kind of thinking is where we believe at least advisory work is changing, but also where it becomes easier for you guys to get in on that piece of the pie. It's an exceptional opportunity to start offering other services and start growing your business, and future-proofing your business is another point worth mentioning, at not a big cost, with not a lot of effort, but the end value to your clients is massive. They see this amazing report and amazing work. All you've done is interpret the numbers because that's what your skill is. But to get to where the endpoint is really easy, and that's the beauty of tech. So we've got about 5 minutes. Anyone want to ask something, check something? I can see a few people saying MYOB. So just reach out to me separately and we'll run through our advisor product, which is the answer for now. However, just to reiterate, we are going to have an MYOB integration ready and live in Predict shortly. Can this be used for organizations that receive government funding where there isn't actual invoices raised? So a great question, and the answer is yes, of course. There is a feature in Predict. I'm actually going to jump in and show it to you, which is quite interesting to look at. But for an irregular business with perhaps a different kind of back office, where as you've asked, Joanna, where there are no invoices, what we've brought into Predict to give you guys extra control over the forecasts is, one, presumably that information might still come through from a sales perspective, so you can still jump in here and edit the particular accounts that are in question. However, we've also got an import feature in Predict. So now what this import feature does is it makes use of these Google hotlink templates. It allows you to copy all these templates into a master file and then manually sync that master file into Predict. So I know that might sound a bit abstract and strange, but I hope it made sense. But what it basically allows you to do is take information that might not be in Xero and incorporate it into Predict. So a great example is payroll. Maybe you want to be able to show the business the 10 staff members what they earn on a month or a week, instead of just showing the total from Xero. Maybe you want to show, Joanna, maybe the grant comes on a recurring basis. So maybe you want to bring that in on a spreadsheet that you create to show when these funding drops are going to happen, so that they can actually predict and forecast their business around when this funding comes from a government or any kind of entity. Things like a loan amortization schedule is really, really useful. So you want to be able to show the business not just where your sales are, not just where your expenses are, but actually you've got this loan and this is how much principal you're paying, this is how much interest you're paying, this is how much you've got left on any given point in time in a month. And to be able to input that into an overall picture of the business is really, really useful. We even go as far as creating non-financial templates. So maybe businesses use internet advertising. They want to know how many people click on their website. They want to calculate stock movements in particular categories. So you could bring all that into Predict, and it would slot into the Predict system over here. So if you look at staff costs, I think salaries and wages template has been brought in. If you see here, the predictions of salaries and wages have been turned off, because all that's doing is saying, well, this company has 6 staff members and they get paid blah blah blah, and that gets pulled from Xero, because you run your payroll somewhere, Xero pulls in the total accounts, and we pull that through. However, if you want to see the granular details, you could bring it in via these import sheets, and it just gives this prediction a bit more meat, a bit more detail for the right client. So it's an option that you have when you see that the forecasting is going to be more detailed than just, well, automate and pull through. So it's quite a cool feature that does make a lot of great sense for the right businesses.
Right.
So yeah, I just thought a great question, Joanna, and thank you.
Functionality there beyond the basics. I mean, the basics are great, but yeah, there's a lot more behind the scenes. So
yeah.
So I guess the next step is okay, we'll put the recording and your email up on our website as usual, and people can get in contact. And there's some videos and whatnot that people can check out on the website if they want to, just recap or go into more.
Yeah, completely. So firstly, if anyone's planning on attending any of the Xero Road shows, I'll be at the Sydney one. Our 2 chiefs from the UK are coming out to do the Melbourne one. So come say hi, come have a chat. We'll probably be able to do demos and have a good discussion and a cup of coffee there. But yes, there is tons of content online. Go and YouTube Futrli Predict. You'll see short and long videos giving you synopsis to what it does, what it looks like. Maybe some of you want more detailed. I'm very, very happy myself to tee up a separate time if anyone wants to kind of go over an actual live case. Maybe you want to get your free account going and analyze the numbers, and then have a chat with me with the live data in there to see that everything makes sense and you're happy before maybe chatting to a client. But yeah, tons of information, tons of content. But I also would encourage you to just plug and play and connect everything and see what it does and see what the numbers look like.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, I think that's a wrap. So
amazing.
Thanks everybody for attending. And yeah, just get in contact if you've got any questions that you think of later on. Jess, thanks so much for great
Thank you.
things to think about with advisory services and a great overview.
Thank you all for attending, and thanks for having me, Joe. It's been awesome.
Yeah, great. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next month.
All righty. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.